Nancy, appreciate it. So I am just going to switch up my screen here so I can see my notes. There we go. Okay, it's hard in full screen to kind of see anything, right? So you never know where anything got hidden. So welcome everyone. I want to thank you for joining us for this Effective Online Practices Showcase panel. It's always my pleasure every year to do this panel because really we just get to highlight all the great work that's being done across the SUNY system. And we get to celebrate each other in that regard as well, because we will be sharing the results of our actual awards voting at the end here. So I'm going to go through a couple of the just overview information for you real briefly, and I'll come back to kind of share some things at the end, but I want to be sure that we have enough time for our panelists to really share their effective practices. That's why you're here. So just some brief information. For round 7 this year, we had 12 entries across our SUNY campuses. The tracks for the award program include online teaching and learning practices, online course quality practices, student support and concierge practices, enrollment and recruitment, and some program partnership practices. And so those are the different sort of areas that we have provided for a framework for the award program to address all of the different areas of online program management across SUNY. The one track, online teaching and learning practices, that particular track, that's actually where the program started with just that one track. But that particular track, any entrants into that area are also invited to submit their entries to the Teaching Online Pedagogical Repository called TOPR. That is a partnership that we have with the University of Central Florida. And that repository is an international repository that really collects and evaluates and showcases effective practices, across the globe. And it is a great tool for folks to use if you are interested in searching for effective practices beyond our own. This year, we created a repository for all of our effective practice entries from the past 6 years, and well, 7 now, including this year. And so you can find that. We'll be posting all of these links for you in the chat. But you can find that and you can search by year, you can search by campus, you can search by name or keyword, and be able to find all of those. And if you participated in our voting this year, you would have done that to search for the 2021 entries, and then you could rate and comment on each entry. So we put the effective practices out to the community for that sort of peer review, and the community votes on their entries, and then the top entries are the ones that are conferred an award annually at the SUNY Online Summit. So more about that as we get to the end, but for now, I want to be sure to turn it over to our panelists. So joining us today, we have Rihanna Rogers and Mark Lewis from SUNY Empire State College. We have Fabio Montella from Suffolk, Tonka Joklova from Canton. We have Robin Sullivan and Cherie Van Putten from, Robin is from UB and Cherie is from Binghamton. We have Michael Panetta and Sophia Mavrogiannis from SUNY Empire. And we also have Helen Wang from UB. So I'm going to start with Mark and Rihanna. I'll stop sharing my screen and I will turn it over to you to do that.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for that introduction, Erin. My name is Dr. Rihanna Rogers, and I'm here with instructional designer and technologist, my colleague, Mark. I apologize, Mark Lewis. And I wanted to just give you a little bit of a brief introduction about our submission to the award ceremony, which is International Education Virtual Residencies. So International Education Virtual Residencies is a program that was co-developed with a project that I run called the Buffalo Project that's been around for 11 years now, but it's been run with the Center for International Education at Empire State College, and it's been in effect since 2017. In summary, it basically utilizes a responsive participatory action research framework to engage undergraduate, graduate, and international stakeholders via a 3-week collaborative micro-credential online module. The exchange consists of joint asynchronous discussions, joint asynchronous assignments, and synchronous asynchronous keynote addresses by experts or an expert in a given thematic field. So far since 2017, we have hosted a variety of various thematic virtual residencies, including the Year of Indigenous Peoples, Digital Studies, Global Studies, Building Community in Times of Social Unrest, Sustainability Through Learning, Anti-Racism, World Religions, Faith and Spirituality, and Leadership in Times of Crisis. This has been a grant-funded award. We currently right now have a grant with the U.S. Embassy in the Dominican Republic. We've also received grants from the SUNY system level, as well as a grant from the Rockefeller Institute of Government last year. And what's been really great about this experience is because of the responsive format, we actually change our themes to match what the interests are happening immediately and happening right now. So I'll give you an example. Right now, we're running the anti-racism virtual residency. That wasn't on our docket before what was happening last year. And so what's been really great about this program is that we can adjust rapidly, utilizing data that we're collecting at the time. So I wanted to pass it over to my colleague, Mark, so that he can give a little bit of the back-end infrastructure. And thank you for your time.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Lewis. So let me just talk from an instructional design point of view and also just a course management point of view of how we did some of this. We had 3-week standalone Moodle courses, basically, which is where the residencies were housed. So this would be in addition to any of the students' regular courses. And these courses, after they were offered, would become repository master courses, OER courses that could be repurposed. And we're going to be doing that again this fall. We have a master, we're going to pull a course out, port from the master, and it's going to be used this fall. So there's a lot of internal coordination that's involved with this because you're talking about 3 different areas, talking about School for Graduate Studies participation, undergraduate participation, the international programs participation. Also, a lot of independent studies come into these. So we have to manage the enrollments for that. We also have to manage the communication for that. We have to make sure the instructors are communicating where the course is. Sometimes that's a good point of confusion. So you want to make sure that that whole communication chain is there and the students understand they're going to be going into 2 different Moodle shells as part of their studies for the whatever the term is that it's offered. And then there's also the external enrollments that we have. So, you know, we're talking about also bringing in students from around SUNY. So I just want to give a shout out here to Steve Simon, who works for our IT department, and he has been key to making this a success with working with external participants, both faculty and students. So he's used the SUNY Federation as a way to get the SUNY folks in. And then he also does the manual creation of accounts for non-SUNY participants. So that would be people from, you know, around the world or other programs. I think the Rockefeller Center, when we had them in, they were external accounts as well. And the last thing I would say is you want to be aware of FERPA issues. When you bring people into your courses, make sure that they're involved in the course in a way that satisfies FERPA. Because we had a situation where we were going to bring in a guest who really just needed to review the course materials, and they really didn't meet the FERPA requirements as far as being allowed in the course. So in that case, I created just a review course for them that they could go in and look at the content, and there's no FERPA issues. They're the only one in the course, and it's just there for the external guest. So that's just a quick summary of some of the things that we did on our side. And of course, you know, when you do the master courses, and you do all the other stuff that goes along with it as far as accessibility reviews and those types of things.
Yeah, so the final thing that I'll mention about this is in a matter of 3 years, this has become the largest residency program at the college. So we started off with our first residency in 2017, having 40 students. And literally we have a residency right now, the one we're talking about with the US Embassy, that has 300 students across 20 courses. So the infrastructure that, you know, Mark has been here since the beginning about developing this, it really shows that you can upscale it really rapidly. You know, we've done so in a matter of 3 years and brought in people from around the world. For example, we just made a new partnership in Mexico, in addition to the partnerships that we have in the Dominican Republic, Lebanon, Prague, that are bringing in students. And the big final piece that I would say is it's not only about the content or the theme that we're focusing on, but it's really helping students to establish intercultural competencies, because they're meeting sometimes people for the first time that are from different countries and speaking different languages. The really interesting pilot that we're doing in this last virtual residency is we actually have it bilingual. So this pilot that we're having right now, some students are monolingual, they may only speak English or Spanish, but we're actually using Google Translate this semester to see if students can engage across linguistic lines, even if they aren't English predominant speakers. So we just started doing this. Literally, we're in it right now. This is week number 1. And I was just checking it, and students are doing it. They're writing in English, and then they're translating using Google Translate into Spanish. So I would encourage anybody who wants to do this, play around with these ideas. You can create spaces that are unique and vibrant. So thank you for your time.
Terrific. Thank you. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to share that with us. I'm putting in the chat the link to your entry so that if folks would like to read more of the details of that, they can do that. And there's also your contact information to reach out should they want to know more. But thank you for sharing today. So I'm going to switch over to Fabio Montella from SUNY Suffolk.
Hi, Erin. How are you? Hi, everyone.
Good, thanks.
I'm going to be sharing my screen, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, I didn't lose everyone. Everyone can still hear me, right?
Looks good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, again, thank you everyone for joining me today as I present my effective practice. My name is Fabio Montella. I'm an assistant professor of library services and assistant professor of history at Suffolk County Community College. And this effective practice is really a blended approach, as the title states, to history and scholarly research. And it came about because of my experience in teaching one-shot instructions from the librarian end. And just a little bit about one-shot instruction. When conducting one-shot instruction, academic librarians are asked to step into a content-specific course and provide library instruction in a specific amount of time. Well, what exactly does this mean for the librarian? It means that we're asked to do a lot in a very small amount of time. And this really is where my effective practice takes approach. And it's based on distribution and harmony. And I thought these were the keys, rather, to sort of alleviating these problems of time and cohesion. Here is a screenshot from my Modern American History course. If you notice on the left, we have 15 weekly modules. Every module covers a specific topic of the Modern American History course. And for the library instruction to come in, I would have to ask a librarian to come in, preferably early on in the semester, anywhere from week 1 to 3, and ask them to provide library instruction within a 90-minute time frame, if possible, or even if appropriate, that's going to remain there for students for the remainder of the course. Now, again, you do encounter a lot of issues with this, retention of information and whatnot being probably the most prominent issue. So what I have decided to do, again, in terms of harmony and distribution, is make my course a platform for the librarian to spread their instruction throughout the remainder of the course. And here we have an example from week 3. Week 3 covers the topics of capital and labor, the West, and formulating a viable research question, which is one of the preliminary steps of the research process. We have our learning objectives. As we scroll down, we start to see some of the readings and PowerPoint slides, additional resources. We start to get into the assignments. And then at the very bottom is where we start to see the library instruction component. Now, if you look at these arrows on the right, 1, 2, and 3 all pertain to the history aspect of the course, capital and labor, westward expansion. Number 4, this giant arrow that sort of encompasses everything, it's because when we get to the portion of library instruction, it's harmonious because it incorporates history into the instruction, step by step, sequentially. What do I mean by that? Well, here we have an example of the assignment for week 3. We have a couple of resources on the left, videos on how to formulate research questions and how to become comfortable in doing so. But then on the right, the assignment that's pertaining to this module, if you can read some of the print, and I apologize for the poor image, it takes capital and labor and westward expansion and uses those topics to get them thinking about how to formulate a research question. Okay, so then in a week or 2 later, when we start to focus on database and the construction of using information and locating information, that library instruction might tie into whatever topic or topics that particular module is speaking of. So again, it's cohesion, harmony, and of course, the distribution of time. Librarians are no longer reliant on using 90-minute intervals, but rather can spread it out over the course of a semester. And it doesn't really hinge too much on the time frame of the professor whose course this would be used for, because again, within a 90-minute period, librarians tend to get very creative. They might have to cut corners here and there. That is no longer required in this approach. Now, again, this is a model or that can be used as a template. So this can be incorporated humanities, social sciences, what have you. Again, it just gives the form to spread their instruction. And that's my brief introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabio. You were too fast for me. I was still grabbing your link. There it is.
Oh, you need the link?
Nope, I put it right in the chat.
Okay.
So if you would like to read more details about that particular effective practice, the entry is in the chat and you can do that there. So we are going to switch. I'll have Fabio stop sharing and we're going to switch to Tonka.
Good afternoon. My name is Tonka Yokelova. I am Director of Center for Learning, Design, Innovation, and Online Instruction at SUNY Canton. And if you give me 3 seconds, I will share my screen with you. I have a couple of slides just to keep me from going all over the place. Are you able? No, we're not able to see. Okay, give me just 1 more second.
Yep,
All right.
we can see it now.
Okay, perfect. So today I will speak about peer course review process that we have here at SUNY Canton. Now, just to be very transparent and honest, I'm taking 0 credit for creation of this. I'm just taking the credit for recognizing the brilliance of it. So this is where we are. I started with SUNY Canton in 2019. The process was already going on. We tweaked it a little bit and we actually continue tweaking it as we go, just to make sure that we are getting to the best possible process that we can. So at our college, all online, hybrid, and flex courses have to be reviewed to be able to be taught. And all new courses, all new online, hybrid, and flexible or flex need to be reviewed, as well as all courses that are 3 years old. So every 3 years, we are going through re-review process, and then of course, all new courses are reviewed as well. So this is what is being reviewed. Now, for the function of the review, I am recognizing really 3. First of all, of course, it's the course quality assurance, right? So we don't want to have any online courses or hybrid or flex courses that do not meet the basic standards. So by reviewing the courses, we are maintaining the course quality. Also, another functions that I realized just by being a member of the committee and going through the process is it has a great educative or educational value. What I mean by this is because it is peer review and faculty are reviewing other faculty's courses, they have to know what they're looking for. So of course, before they are able to review, they're going to get familiar with the standards. And once they are familiar with standards, of course, they're going to be using them on their own courses. So being a peer review, it has a great value in educating faculty on instructional design principles, on accessibility, copyright, and all those things that are very important to us in online education. And additionally, it's also inspirational because faculty are exposed to courses from other fields. And that can inspire multidisciplinary collaborations, research collaborations within the faculty body. So I do like that by reviewing the courses, other faculty are looking at something else than just courses from their own field. So that is very valuable to our faculty as well. As I mentioned, the courses are reviewed by a governance committee, and that is consisting of 10 faculty reviewers. Also, instructional designers are on the committee, and of course, the committee has administrative support. If we have a lot of courses to review for that particular cycle, we do put a call out to volunteers, and we do get volunteers, which is really which is really nice. I think that tells me that faculty do appreciate opportunity to look into others' courses and learn more about effective course design. So that is the committee. As I mentioned, we have cycles, review cycles. We have two standard that are in April and in November. In April, we're reviewing courses for the summer and fall. In November, we're reviewing courses for the winter and the spring. If we are lucky, we are able to get June reviewers, and we have been lucky last two years, I believe. So we did have June reviewers in case there is any overflow of courses or any special instances that need to be reviewed outside of the regular review cycles. So 2 regular plus 1 if necessary. And we do use OSCQR Rubric. However, we adapted it to meet our needs. And the needs were to be able to say, yes, this course is approved. No, this course needs more work. So that was the need. And to answer the need, we divided the rubric into essential and suggested standards and assigned points to each standard. So essential standards are worth 6 points each. We have 2 reviewers per course, so each review will get 3 points per essential standard. And suggested standards are 1 or 2 pointers, and that is dependent on the importance of that standards or the weight of that standard on course quality. And just like I said, we do have approval cutoff. So all courses that are approved have to meet 100% of the essential standards and 83% of the suggested. Now, you're going to laugh at the 83, why not 80? We were going by points. It is 40 out of 48 points, and that's how we came up with the percentage. So 100% of everything that is essential and 83% of the suggested standard. So there is little leeway. When it comes to suggested standard, we do recognize that we are not looking for perfection straight out of the gate. We are looking for continuous progress, and I think that those 17% we can always improve as we go forward. So this is the approval cutoff. What happens if the course is not approved? The course goes back with the feedback to the course developer. The course developer addresses the feedback in the course and resubmits the course to the committee to be reviewed again. Of course, at all times there is there's an option to work with an instructional designer at any point in the game before even first submission. We have 3 instructional designers on campus, and so we are definitely available. Not only instructional designers, our instructional technologists as well, altogether 6 people. And if the course does not meet the second review, that's when we make it mandatory for the course developer to work with an instructional designer to make sure that we understand each other and the courses are where they need to be. So that happens when courses are not approved or they do not have the quality high enough where we want our courses to be. Now, to educate faculty or to help faculty meet those OSCQR rubric standards that we have, we're not just leaving them out to figure it out on their own. We created a course design institute that has 3 levels. 2 are mostly, 2 are educational, and the third one is more of a mentorship level. So we have training opportunities in the technical realm where we teach faculty new to online learning how to work with our LMS, with our video streaming tools that we have, and anything else, any other tools that we have for course design and for teaching. And in the second portion, we are putting their technical skills into practical use, and they're actually designing courses that instructional designers then give them feedback on. So those 2 levels are available to any faculty who would like to develop a course. And the third level I mentioned is a mentorship, and this is where we encourage others to function as a mentor to somebody else who is also developing a course or having any kind of concerns or dilemmas when it comes to course design. So just to summarize, what I think is new and fresh when it comes to this process is that it is a peer process. Faculty are reviewing other faculty's courses, number one. And number two, the rubric that is being used is authored by SUNY, of course, but we adapted it to include points and to include the approval cutoff that lets us know whether the course is okay or we still need more work on the course. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Tonka. I'm looking in the chat here. I don't think I see any at the moment.
Okay.
If you have questions for any of our panelists, feel free to type them in the chat because they are with us for the session and they can answer those after as well. Pam would like to know, Tonka, if you're willing to share your version.
Absolutely. The version is actually in, hopefully Erin will share the link to the practice and the file is there. The file that we have on our website is under login. So that's what Erin will share. That is the only available without a login.
Great. Yep, I just put the link in the chat. It's the one with 2929 at the end.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you. All right, so our next panelists are Robin Sullivan and Cherie Van Putten. Robin?
Okay, thank you, Erin. And let's see, do you see my screen yet? No?
Not yet, no.
All right. Give me 1 second. How's that?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, let's get this over a little bit. So, and hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share some information. I will be talking about the SUNY Exploring Emerging Technologies for Lifelong Learning and Success project. We call it MTech, and MTech MOOC is our social media hashtag. You can visit the project website. It is publicly available, and the URL is up on the address bar there. Possibly, Erin, if you could type that into the chat, that would be wonderful as well. The URL for the site is suny.edu/EMTECH. And MTech is a free learning opportunity. It's open to everybody. However, there is definitely an emphasis on providing support for both college students and instructors to help them become more digitally literate in today's technology-driven society. So what is MTech? It's actually two things. It is a Coursera-based MOOC, or a massive open online course. And that MOOC provides a course structure and also a supportive learning community. The topic of the first of 5 modules, and this topic is highlighted throughout the course, is lifelong learning. And the following modules are mapped to the 4 C's of 21st century skills. Those skills include communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. The main objective of the entire project is to help participants identify the value and implications of using emerging technologies for both their professional and personal lives. We want them to be able to use the technologies, both that are appropriate to their needs and effective. And for the most part, we focus on freely available technology tools. The second part of this project is MTech Wiki. So you see on the screen the website, which is also the wiki. You can enroll in Coursera just by going down on the homepage, and there are the enrollment buttons as well as a 1-minute intro to the project. But if you're interested to look at the wiki, which is used as part of the MOOC Discovery Learning activities, you can click on the Discover tab. And through that tab, it will bring you to a collection of freely available technology tools. And we have just gone over the 500 mark. We started with 150 tools, tutorials, and resources. And we now have 500 different records that are in the project. And you can see the screen here that lets you select things that are most useful for your needs. And so on the left side, you will see the filters that you can use. And the most important filter, depending on where you come from the MOOC, you're driven to either the resources that focus on that module. And then from there, you can narrow down. So what are the objectives that relate to your needs? Are you trying to visualize information? Are you trying to understand Creative Commons? Are you trying to tell a story? And when you do that, the 500 tools keep getting narrower and narrower to help you find something that you will then use as part of the MOOC activities. So let's see, the resources in the MOOC kind of guide the participants to explore and experiment and to identify a specific technology that will help them. In a nutshell, the MOOC, we just actually within the past hour passed over that 25,000 learner enrollment mark. So that was pretty exciting. They are from 150 different countries, 150 plus. And as the director of the MTech project, Sheree Van Putten is the associate director, and she was on the call, but I believe she had to step away. We have witnessed learners who have taken the MOOC. It's a very small activity. It can be completed in less than 5 hours, but we have seen people learn. We have seen people advance. We have watched as they add the reflections about the artifacts that they create and put those into their e-portfolios. And it is extremely rewarding to watch people as their comfort level in using technology tools grows just a little bit. And that's something that we really like to see. There's a community, so people are learning from each other. And the research that we've done definitely shows that a lot of the learning happens when somebody says, oh, that was a really cool infographic. Can you tell me how you did that? Then they share and they just learn from each other's experiences. Just reading somebody's reflection helps them learn about it. What's useful, what's not. So as they're in the MOOC, they build a portfolio, they add the artifacts and the reflections. And there's also many people who just use the wiki to identify their tools. And we have some data on the impact page that shows that there are a number of individuals that have said that they continue to use the MOOC even after their participation in the project ends. I think that's great. So right here we have 71% said quite a bit and very much, and that they will use this wiki, and our Google Analytics definitely show that as well. So please put the website on your bookmarks, suny.edu/mtech, and under this main home menu there is an option to learn more and share with others. And so there's some materials that you can share out to your campus. Again, faculty are probably a big part of this. That's who we originally designed it for, but students as well can participate directly. Faculty have used the MOOC as part of required class activities, either a single module or the entire course, and have asked their students to use the tools in relation to course assignments. So I think that I just want to share, at the end that there's also a publications page, and we just added a publication on here. Well, actually, the publication's been there a while, but the publication came in hard copy as a book with many faculty co-authors on there. And so if you want to learn how faculty are using this in their teaching, you can take a look at this resource. And just give a plug for Friday's online ambassadors. Faculty member Jessica Kruger is one of the co-authors on this chapter. So thank you, and I would be happy, and Rachel, thank you also as a co-author as well. So she is on the call here, and I would just want to say, any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And if there was anything in the chat that went by that I missed.
Great, thanks, Robin. There's been some discussion in the chat, but I didn't see any questions. I'm glad to know about that resource though, because that is one of the things that I think is really valuable, that students can use the wiki as well to find tools to complete projects, right? As a new way to do that. And so learning how faculty are using those is very useful. And it's always great to see ambassadors on there as well. So.
Yes.
I posted a link to the effective practice entry if you want to read more, and you can get all of those links that Robin shared there. They're embedded in the entry as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. All right, so I'll turn it over next to Michael Panetta's here from SUNY Empire State.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Panetta. I am an educational technologist at SUNY Empire State College. I am joined today by Director of Academic Support for the Harry Van Arsdale School of Labor Studies, Sophia Mavrogiannis. Unfortunately, Carolina Kim de Salamanca, my co-presenter, was not able to be here today as she was having some technical issues. However, we should be able to do our presentation on our application to convert a written portfolio review process over to a digital portfolio review process in a COVID era. So to talk a little bit about the problem that we were faced, I will turn it over to Sophia.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. As Michael introduced me, my name is Sophia Mavrogiannis. I'm Director of Academic Support at the Harry Van Arsdale Junior School for Labor Studies at SUNY Empire State College. We are actually a very face-to-face, brick-and-mortar, traditional type program situated inside SUNY Empire, which, as we all know, is a distance learning institution. Our program has about 1,100 students, predominantly apprentices and trade unions down here. So they're at work all day, they come, they take a class in labor studies as part of a partnership program with their union that the college has had for a very long time. So in 2003, our former dean and current writing program director instituted a program-wide midterm portfolio review process. And at this point, the intention was to do two things. One was to create a midterm check-in point between all instructors and all of their students to be able to allow for some kind of inventory of assignments due and what's missing, essentially replacing a typical required office hour, which our instructors, mostly adjuncts, did not have. There's just no time and space for that given the way the program is structured. And they also wanted to be sure that students were getting some kind of feedback on their writing, low stakes, holistic, from somebody outside of the classroom, not just the instructor. And so they put in this portfolio process, and it's been around for a long time. It has always been a very paper-dominated practice. I came on board as director in 2010, and I inherited the process very excitedly. And I've always wanted it to be an online process because there were so many challenges to it being a paper process. So when the portfolios were collected, it was all students received a folder branded Van Arsdale School Labor Studies folder, and they would have it every term, and they would keep all their assignments in there. And the instructors would do that thing at midterm where they collected all their portfolios, did the inventory of assignments. Instructors would collect these folders and put them in a bookcase. I kid you not, a giant bookcase that was labeled with the day of the week and a process that we had to come up with in order to keep things organized and just on the logistical standpoint, be able to turn these around in a reasonable amount of time. So you can imagine how many portfolios are in there. And eventually what happened is our number of students went up and the number of reviewers doing the work went down. And so it was a midterm process, ended up becoming dragged into a 4, 5, 6 week process, losing its really pedagogical significance at midterm, and even losing its retention purpose from being this midterm thing. The reviews that were done on triplicate forms. It was a rubric and it was a single sheet triplicate. At the end of the review, a student got the white copy, the instructor got, I believe, the yellow copy, and I received the pink copy. So from a data standpoint, it became impossible over time to do anything meaningful with data. The feedback were checkboxes on the rubric and then a qualitative endnote from the reviewer to the student. And it was just a data nightmare on my end. So I had wanted for a long time to convert this to an online process, but again, very collegial resistance to that because again, we are a very face-to-face on-site program, a lot of paper generated. We love paper, we love books. And there was some resistance to creating this online process to fit in a very on-site face-to-face program. And then COVID happened and it allowed me the opportunity to explore what I've always wanted, which is to turn this into a digital student experience. And so I turned to the ed techs at SUNY Empire for help to turn this into a digital process that would allow me to continue the process and improve it, change the rubric so that it's actually more substantive and isn't just whatever we can fit into half a page of a standard sheet, with the ability to actually define the terms that we're using for students to make sure they understand how they're being evaluated, even though it's low stakes, the ability to utilize staff from across the college, other members of the academic support team around SUNY Empire to assist and to do work of reviewing portfolios to help us actually have a turnaround time that still remained within the 2 weeks at midterm so that we could actually have the impact we say we were having. I also wanted to be able to convert this to an online practice because we spent a lot of time talking about, we meaning Van Arsdale, about what this midterm portfolio doesn't have viable it is without ever being able to substantiate that, especially with student feedback. The ability to get student feedback on a written process is very difficult, but the ability to do that in a digital process is a lot easier. It's also a lot easier to actually get student self-reflection on the writing, which was a core principle in the portfolio process when it was first instituted, and over time that was lost. So being able to finally turn into a digital process allowed us to make these really important changes to the portfolio process. And hopefully we'll be able to get some really good information from the data and all the great changes that have been made. So that's it from now. I'm going to pass it over to Michael, who's going to demonstrate how the portfolio submission works. Thank you.
So to very briefly go over how the portfolio is submitted, the student would launch into the application and it would take them to the previous form that you would see on your screen, which explains how the form works. They would be taken into the actual portfolio submission page where they would select what device they are using to complete their submission, either a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone. The class weekday that their class took place on, Monday through Friday, the list, whatever instructor was that they took the class with, the name of the class, how satisfied they are with the writing, very brief comments on what they did well in the writing, what they could improve, as well as the means by which to attach portfolio documentation to the portfolio. So just to very quickly do that, this one. And so once the student is satisfied with their submission, they would just click this certification checkbox here and then click submit all. What this does, it will submit this to a SharePoint site. They'll get this screen, they'll submit to a SharePoint site here, and you'll see it just popped up on there. So you see that I submitted this at 2/22 at 1:29 p.m. and the student would get an email from our auto mailer service, our Microsoft Power Automate flow. They would get the email as well as their instructor. And then once that's been processed, we go into the second part of the app, which is the review side of the app. Reviewers are the various faculty with Harry Van Arsdale. They can go in and select what submission they want to review by any number of criteria, such as by weekday, instructor, class, username, the student email, submission date, as well as whether or not they want to sort by if the review has actually been reviewed already or if the student submitted it late. But very quickly, say we want to go and look at that portfolio that I just submitted, we'll just sort by sort by instructor, Michael Panetta, and oh well, let's see, there's a review right there ready to be reviewed. So we go into that, and you'll see all the data from the portfolio rather right here on the left hand side, as well as the rubric for the review on the right hand side. Now, obviously, these are placeholders for right now. We're still developing the final wording for the review. However, it would show exceeds expectations, meets expectations, and so forth. And so we'll just say, for the sake of this review, that they did very well. I should hope so, because I was the one that wrote it. And the reviewer has the opportunity to place comments in the review as well. So once the review is complete, they certify that the portfolio has been reviewed and they submit the review. It'll take just a second. This page will pop up. And then if I can actually open the page, it'll actually show up in a second SharePoint site. The review rather will show in the second SharePoint site once it gets processed. And that will also email out the student, the instructor, as well as the reviewer once it has been accepted. So we chose to do Power Apps. This is actually the second iteration of the application that we built. The first iteration was built exclusively by Carolina, and this is sort of this was based off of her work. And just to very briefly show what Power Apps can do, it is, if you know how to do an Excel spreadsheet, if you have a good idea of how to work within an Excel spreadsheet, you can pretty much work within Power Apps. There's a little bit more to it because it's more object oriented than it is code, which is actually one of its strong suits. But if you know how to do an Excel spreadsheet, pretty much you can design any sort of Power App that you can think of. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free in the chat. Thank you.
Great, thank you both. I can see lots of different applications actually for this, but the way that you've set up the portfolio is a really neat model, and the process that wraps around that too. So thank you for sharing all of that. I have put the link to the entry in the chat if anybody would like to look for more details or read more about that entry. And I'm going to turn it over now to Helen Wang. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Erin. I'm Helen Wang. I'm an associate professor of communication at the University of Buffalo. And so we're about 50 minutes into this panel. If it's okay with everyone, can I maybe ask us to pause for a moment? And I invite you to maybe reflect on this question. So if I were to ask you to use maybe one word, only one word, you would use to summarize what you have learned from this panel so far, what would that be? And please type it up in the chat box, but without hitting the return yet until I tell you. So 5 seconds, maybe. So I'll put my question there for everyone. Yes. Oh, you're good, Erin. Thanks. So one word, 5 seconds. Now please hit enter. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So this is sort of like an illustration of an adapted liberating structure activities I use in my online classes with students. And so my topic for today is inclusive and interactive learning, online learning through something called liberating structures. So these are basically simple, concrete, yet effective tools to engage everyone in group settings. And they've been used for many, many years in organizations, and probably in the last 10, 15 years, they've been now adopted in higher educational institutions. And I've been fortunate to be part of this global community of practice on liberating structures for about 10 years. I use them in my physical classrooms a lot. And of course, when COVID hit last year and we're forced to move the learning and classes online, we have to adapt. So my observation was, last year, either you're online, you're learning, it's asynchronous, you never see the professor, you never see your classmates, you just get the assignments, instructions, and then you have to submit it. There's no human interactions whatsoever. Or you're asked to kind of sit there in front of your computer, watch and listen to somebody's presentation or your professor's lecture for a long period of time, and it's very hard, right? So the use of liberating structures can help engage everyone and accomplish a lot within a short period of time. And so what I just illustrated to you was every single liberating structure has 5 elements, and there's like 3 dozens of them. And if you're curious, I've included a lot of resources in my portfolio submission, but also there's a website called liberatingstructures.com. There's a free mobile app you can use, and there's a book. So the five structural elements of every single liberating structure activity is the first one, an invitation. So I just invited everyone just now to pause for a moment and think about this one word. The second element is spatial arrangement. So like I can arrange the chairs in the physical classroom, but online I could arrange, I help you to navigate to the chat box just now for our activity. Or, I use breakout rooms a lot, and I can give instructions, I can arrange the size of small groups discussions, and very often I also combine it with Google Slides or Google Jamboards to facilitate the real-time small group activities and discussions. The third structural element is called participation distribution. And this is the key to the success of liberating structures, because basically the distribution of participation is that you include and engage everyone. And just now I invited everyone, and then most likely you will see the evidence if everyone actually participated. And the fourth structural element is called group configuration. So very often you can have this kind of first element in terms of individual contribution. And I ask you to think about it, reflect on my question, and then you can provide your, at least your input as the initial kind of contribution for a group discussion. It can be in pairs, can be in quartets, any number of sort of size. And then very often you come back for the entire group for kind of debrief and more kind of further clarifications and discussions. And the last structural element is called the sequence of steps and time allocation. So very often, like if one person holds the microphone for too long, that everybody loses track of kind of interest, and it kind of gets free flowing, and you can't really accomplish anything within a short amount of time. So there's always a sequence of instructions, but also for each step, there's a very specific time allocation. So everybody has to be like mindful about how much time you have, and there's a specific task to accomplish within this amount of time. So what I did was just the simplest version of what you can do at the beginning of this segment. And I'm gonna just share a screen to show you, let me see, this class I taught last semester. It happened to be a social network analysis class. And I just wanted to show you this visual. Can you see it? Yes? Okay. I just wanted to show you this visual. It happens to be a network class, and I thought I could maybe collect data on how the students interacted with each other throughout the whole semester. So what you're seeing here is the 30 students in my class. And if they were in an activity and discussed, like they were part of a group interacting with each other, there would be a line between the two students. So your observation might be, like everybody has some lines connected to them, and you don't see, so here the color and the size of the nodes, it's actually based on the number of peers they interacted with. And you don't see like one person has like it's ginormous size and really, really dark, and then a lot of other people have no connections, we would call isolates in the network. Here, what you see is everybody has a number of links and not a single or a small group of students are dominating. So this is sort of the evidence to show like everybody's included and the distribution of participation is more or less equal. And I ran some data. So for a class of 30 students here, I had throughout the semester, 15 weeks, we had a total of 191 connections. And on average, each student, basically talked to, at least a dozen others, throughout the course, being able to learn. And the thing is, what they can do is, because of the structure, each activity is set up, it helps them to pay attention. It helps them to feel more comfortable to ask clarifying questions, to seek help from their peers, to provide support to others when they're in the position to do that, and to collaborate and work on something concrete together. And the overall result, this is, of course, as an example to illustrate, is high retention and high engagement, and then more kind of a transformative learning experience overall. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Helen, could you repeat what the fifth one was in the list? That was a question in the chat.
Yes, it was the sequence of steps and time allocation. And it's also, if Erin, you shared my submission, it's also in there in the description. Yeah.
Great. So I've shared your entry, and I've also shared the link to the Liberating Structures website, which actually is really neat, really informative, and has a whole menu of activities available. So
yes.
Great, thank you for sharing that. I am going to, you can feel free to type in the chat while I am getting to the screen share, because then I won't be able to read it anymore. But I think that there are a couple questions for you there, Helen. For example, what tool did you use to create that graphic that you just showed?
Yeah, that was a Gephi. That's a open source kind of a network visualization tool.
Great. And there was another question about, whoops, went too far. Let's see. What kind of activities did you do in addition to Liberating Structures to get them engaging with each other?
Yeah, so this particular presentation is about Liberating Structures. I actually also do other ones in terms of a little bit of mindfulness exercise. We do a bit of kind of, because I teach entertainment education too, we get up and do some silly dancing, in between sessions. So there's a whole host of other activities I also use, but the most often ones I use has to do with Liberating Structures. Yeah, and then it can range from, a group of a few hundred students, or if you're running workshops, too, you can use that, or just a few people, and you can do more in-depth kind of. I use it for co-creation workshops too online, even with refugees. Yeah.
Great, thank you. In the interest of time and making sure that we get to our awards, I wanted to also share with you that in the resources that are going to be posted at the end here, we have some video entries from 3 participants who couldn't join us today virtually, but they did create video overviews of their effective practice. So I would love for you to be able to take a look at those at some point. That would be great. So as I mentioned, the SUNY community has the opportunity to review and rate entries, and the effective practices that are in the highest ratings are recognized annually. So now we'll do some of those results. So for the community voting, we had 263 total ratings that were cast out there, and there were 1,263 total points that were spread out over the 12 entries. The rating scale was on a 5-star system, and then there was the opportunity also to leave comments and feedback for the entry participants. So in 3rd place, receiving 105 points, that was submitted by Tonka Joklova from Canton. It was the peer course review process at SUNY Canton that you just heard about today. So congratulations to Tonka and the team over at Canton. We should have like an audio applause. I know there's a little icon everybody can click on, but it'd be fun to do a little audio. And in 2nd place, Veronica was not able to join us today, but her 2nd place entry received 397 points, and that was on the open pedagogy approach on the fly. her coronavirus economics course. So I would encourage you to go and read more about that entry. And receiving the most votes at 506 was Fabio Montella, the History and Scholarly Research Blended Approach. So congratulations to Fabio. And we actually have awards for each of the top 3 places. So I'll hold it up for you. So these will be sent to you. So I want to congratulate all of the entries, all the submissions. I want to thank you for that, and also to congratulate all of the winners this year. The community voting is really fun. It's great to see the feedback that everybody shares. Everyone does such a great job of commending and commenting on all of that. So I really appreciate that. Also wanted to just thank everybody who participated in the panel today. You're all stellar, and I love that you share so widely and so willingly. So thank you for sharing what you know with the larger online teaching community. And we have a couple links. There's a link to a document that collected all of the information from the panel today. That's a Google Doc for you. And there's a link to get to the Effective Practices website. There's also a link to TOPR that I mentioned to you. You can search SUNY entries on TOPR. So all of these will be shared with you, including the slide deck.
Erin, can you hold the award up again and put it back on the slide with the award winners? I want to get a picture.
I can. You should put it up with the actual people, not me, but here you go.
Okay, is there a way to get the actual people on the
So
screen?
what we'd like to do before we close the session is anyone who presented today, if you are willing to turn your camera on and then the rest of us turn our camera off, you'll all be first and we can take a little snapshot of you. So there they are.
All right, hang on.
So funny to do photo ops in Zoom, right? But here we are. This is the world we're living in.
So it's funny because I see the screen full of people. I see Robin and Helen and Christina and Fabio.
Yep.
Okay, all right, great. Thank
There
you.
you go.
If you want a really great picture of just the winners, if you go to your settings, Alex,
Yeah.
you click on the up caret in the video. It'll bring you to the video settings. And then if you hide non-video participants, all of us who have our cameras off will disappear and only those with cameras on will appear.
Okay, wait.
Look at that.
Video participants. Oh, I got it. That's perfect. All right, everybody hang on and smile, say cheese. All right, thank you. Oh, wait, Helen is coming in.
Thanks, Michaela. I didn't know that either. I learned something
Helen,
new.
I didn't know about this. Thank you for teaching me that. That is awesome. Thank you.
Anytime, anytime.
All right, so I think we're good to close this out. Alex, the next one is at 2 o'clock. We want to make sure we get that information out too.
Absolutely. 2 o'clock, right?
Yes, 2 o'clock is our next session.
Thanks, Nancy. And that session at 2, I'm trying to find my program, is going to be